Have you ever wondered how an ordinary boy from Medellín, born into poverty, managed to climb high enough to build the world's most powerful drug empire? How did Pablo Escobar go from stealing cars on the streets to building the Medellín Cartel, a criminal empire so powerful it supplied nearly 80% of the world's cocaine? Escobar didn't just become rich. He became a global name, feared by governments and admired by some who saw him as a Robin Hood figure. But was his success only about violence? Or was it his smart planning and powerful partnerships that helped him climb to the top? In today's story, we'll uncover step by step how Escobar built the Medellín Cartel from nothing, and how it grew into the most feared and powerful cartel of its time. If you're ready to dive into the untold world of cartels and drug lords, make sure to subscribe to the Narco Files and hit that like button so you don't miss any of our deep dives. Early life and small crimes. Pablo Escobar was born in 1949 in Rio Negro, near Medellín, Colombia. His family was poor, and from a young age, Escobar wanted more. By the time he was a teenager, he was already involved in crime. He started small, stealing tombstones, selling fake diplomas, smuggling cigarettes, and stealing cars. These crimes might sound petty, but they gave Escobar a foundation. He learned about bribery, intimidation, and how to make money in the shadows. More importantly, he built a reputation on the streets as someone willing to do whatever it took to get ahead. This hunger for wealth and power would push him far beyond petty crime. From smuggler to drug trafficker. In the early 1970s, Pablo Escobar started out small, making money through smuggling everyday goods like televisions, clothes, and cigarettes. Back then, Colombia had many smuggling routes, and Escobar used them to build steady cash and contacts. But by the mid-1970s, he discovered something far more profitable: cocaine. In the United States, cocaine was just starting to boom. It was seen as a drug for the rich and famous, especially in places like Miami, New York, and Los Angeles. The profits were unlike anything Escobar had ever seen before. By 1976, he decided to fully shift into the cocaine trade. That choice would change everything. It was the first real step toward building what later became the Medellín Cartel, an empire that would dominate the global drug market. Building partnerships. The birth of the cartel. Escobar was ambitious, but he also knew he couldn't rise to the top alone. To turn his dream into reality, he needed partners. This was the moment when the Medellín Cartel truly began to take shape. His cousin, Gustavo Gaviria, became the mastermind behind the logistics, carefully planning smuggling routes, finances, and shipping. The Ochoa brothers, Jorge Luis, Juan David, and Fabio, brought money, influence, and manpower, making them key players in the growing network. Then came José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, known as El Mexicano, who provided the muscle and helped build private armies to protect their operations. Another partner, Carlos Lehder, played a crucial role by turning Norman's Cay in the Bahamas into a smuggling hub that connected Colombia to the United States. And on the American side, George Jung, a skilled trafficker, helped move Escobar's product into U.S. cities. Together, this group didn't just form a gang. They built a cartel, a powerful alliance where profits, routes, and control were shared, creating one of the strongest criminal organizations in history. The cocaine boom of the late 1970s and early 1980s. The timing could not have been better for Escobar and his partners. By the late 1970s, cocaine use in the United States was exploding. What once seemed like a luxury drug for the wealthy was now spreading into the mainstream, creating an endless demand. The Medellín Cartel quickly adapted, coming up with clever and daring ways to move their product. They used human mules, who swallowed cocaine-filled pellets, planes and ships with hidden compartments, and even small aircraft like Cessnas to drop shipments at secret landing strips. One of the boldest moves came from Carlos Lehder, who turned Norman's Cay in the Bahamas into a smuggler's paradise, a private island where cocaine could be stored, packaged, and shipped straight into the U.S. By 1980, the cartel was moving thousands of kilos every single week. Escobar's fortune grew so massive that Forbes ranked him among the richest men in the entire world. Escobar's private army, power through violence. Money alone could not keep Escobar's empire safe. To protect his business and expand his power, he needed muscle. This is when his private army became a key part of the Medellín Cartel. Escobar created networks of sicarios, young hitmen who carried out assassinations, kidnappings, and bombings on his orders. His chilling motto was plata o plomo, meaning silver or lead. In other words, you could take his bribe or face a bullet. To strengthen his position even further, Escobar also backed paramilitary groups to fight against guerrilla forces like the FARC. One of the most notorious was MAS, short for Muerte a Secuestradores, death to kidnappers. These groups acted both as bodyguards for cartel members and as violent enforcers against anyone who stood in the way. With a mix of wealth and ruthless violence, Escobar built an empire where fear was the strongest weapon. The cartel at its peak, billions every year. By the mid-1980s, the Medellín Cartel had become a global powerhouse. At its peak, it controlled as much as 80% of the world's cocaine trade. Every single day, up to 15 tons of cocaine were smuggled into the United States alone. The money was beyond belief. The cartel pulled in around $200 million a day, adding up to billions every year. Escobar's personal fortune at one point was estimated at more than $25 billion, making him one of the richest men alive. He had so much cash lying around that rats were literally chewing through bundles of bills stored in warehouses. But Escobar also knew how to buy loyalty. To the poor communities of Medellín, he acted like a Robin Hood. He built soccer fields, housing projects, and handed out money to struggling families. While the country feared him, many locals saw him as a hero who looked after them. Escobar's political dreams. Escobar's dreams went far beyond money. He wanted power, influence, and the respect of Colombia's elite. In the early 1980s, he stepped into politics and even won a seat as an alternate member of the Colombian Congress. For a short moment, it seemed like he was on his way to becoming a respected public figure. But his past quickly caught up with him. Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla openly exposed Escobar's ties to drug trafficking, putting his entire political career in danger. Escobar's response was brutal. He ordered Lara's assassination in 1984. That single act changed everything. From then on, Escobar was no longer just a drug trafficker. He had declared open war on the Colombian government, a conflict that would turn the country into a battlefield for years. Narco-terrorism, the dark side of power. When the Colombian government pushed back, Escobar answered with terror. He launched a brutal campaign of bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings that shook the entire country. He even ordered the bombing of a commercial airplane, planted car bombs in busy cities, and had presidential candidates, journalists, and police officers murdered. His violence went far beyond protecting the cocaine business. It was about sending a clear message of fear. Anyone who dared to stand against him was marked for death. This wave of bloodshed made Escobar one of the most feared and most wanted men on the planet. But with every attack, he also drew more attention and more enemies, turning himself into the biggest target Colombia had ever seen. The rivalry with Cali Cartel. While Escobar built his power through bombs and bullets, another group was rising with a very different plan, the Cali Cartel. Instead of open violence, Cali relied on bribery, political connections, and keeping a low profile. At first, the two cartels had an uneasy peace, dividing territories and sharing profits. But by the late 1980s, that cooperation fell apart, and they became fierce rivals. The Cali Cartel worked quietly behind the scenes, secretly giving information to authorities and even helping fund Los Pepes, the vigilante group dedicated to destroying Escobar. Their shadow war put more pressure on Medellín at the very moment Escobar was already locked in a bloody battle with the Colombian state. Escobar's downfall. By the early 1990s, Escobar's once powerful empire was falling apart. The Colombian government, with strong support from the United States, launched an all-out hunt to capture him. Special police units, guided by U.S. intelligence, tracked his every move. At the same time, the vigilante group Los Pepes went after his world, killing close allies and destroying homes and businesses linked to him. Even inside his own cartel, fear and pressure caused loyalty to break. Escobar's pride had made him too visible, too violent, and too impossible to ignore. After months of running and hiding, his story ended in December 1993, when Colombian security forces cornered and killed him on a rooftop in Medellín. The man once called the King of Cocaine was finally gone, leaving behind a bloody legacy that scarred Colombia and the world. Legacy of the Medellín Cartel. Even after Escobar's death, the Medellín Cartel left a mark that history cannot erase. It proved how one man, starting with almost nothing, could rise to control a criminal empire worth billions of dollars. But it also revealed the heavy price of greed and violence. Escobar's way of ruling gave him wealth and fame, but it also brought destruction to his own life, to his family, and to Colombia as a whole. The cartel may no longer exist, but its shadow still lingers in the memory of those years. The story of the Medellín Cartel remains one of the most powerful and tragic chapters in the history of organized crime, showing both the heights of power and the depths of its cost. So, how did Pablo Escobar build the Medellín Cartel from nothing? He began with small moves, made the right alliances, took advantage of the cocaine boom, and ruled with both fear and money. His empire reached the top of the world, but in the end, his own hunger for power brought him down. What do you think? Was Escobar's fall always going to happen? Or could he have lasted longer if he had stayed quiet in the shadows, like the Cali cartel? Share your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Narco Files for more hidden stories from the world of cartels and crime. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious.